In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, all praise is due to Allah the Almighty, the Lord of the worlds. May Allah's peace, mercy and blessings be upon His final and last messenger, Muhammad. And may Allah's peace, mercy and blessings be upon each and every one of you, dear viewers, watching this new episode of your program, The Revelation. In today's episode, with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we will be exploring and shedding the light on the objectives and the purposes behind the performance of the fifth pillar of Islam, and that's Hajj, or the pilgrimage to the sacred house in Mecca. Definitely, there are numerous goals and objectives that are achieved through the performance of the Hajj. But let me start here by stating something very clearly and very decisively, that one of the most prime objectives of the Hajj is to materialize and actualize and stress the concept of Tawheed, and that's pure monotheism and belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone and only. And you can clearly see this in the Noble Quran and also in the teachings and the instructions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As we read in the Noble Quran in chapter Al-Hajj, which is chapter number 22, in verse number 37, after instructing the pilgrims as to what to do regarding the sacrificial animal, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly states the meaning of which is, their flesh and blood does not reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is your piety that reaches Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
لن ينال الله لحومها ولا دماؤها ولكن يناله التقوى منكم كذلك سخرها لكم لتكبروا الله على ما هداكم وبشر المحسنين.
In the name of Allah, the Merciful, the Compassionate. It's not their flesh that reaches God, nor their blood, but that which reaches God is your pity. So He has subjected them to you, that you may glorify God for His guidance to you, and give glad tidings to the doers of good.
So this is in the Quran. As we move to the traditions and the sayings of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we see that there is a very closely related saying and statement from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in this regard. As the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is narrated to have said in Sunan Abu Dawood, that going round the Kaaba and running between the hills of As-Safa and Al-Marwa and the stoning of the pillars are only meant for the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. with that being said, among the purposes that the performance of the Hajj actualizes and serves is showing the true worship and the true belief in the one and the only Creator, that's Allah Ta'ala. And we can see this clearly realized through the recitation of the Talbiyah, and that's when the pilgrims, all of them, declare لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك. That's, here I am at your service, O Allah. Here I am. Here I am, and all praise belongs to you. Here I am at your service. You have no partners. Yours alone is all praise and all bounty, and yours alone is the sovereignty. You have no partners. So we can clearly see in these words the true belief and the true dedication to the concept of pure monotheism, that the all and the sole purpose of performing the Hajj is only remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone and only, while associating no partners whatsoever. My dear viewers, let us move to another objective that we can see clearly exemplified through the Hajj, and that's the fact that Hajj is a true manifestation of the universality of Islam. And we can see this clearly in the fact that the pilgrims come from all over the four corners of the globe, and they dress in the same outfit, which is a very simple one, and they repeat the same words and the same statements. And we can clearly see that all considerations like race, ethnicity, color, language are set aside, and what matters is all are here as human beings to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone and only. So you can clearly see that in this universal and most numerous and the most biggest, let me say biggest gathering of all human beings, all of this is realized in the Hajj when we see all of these Muslims and all of these believers coming to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone and only, and to further concepts of unity, togetherness, steadfastness, and helping one another in furthering piety and worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone and only. Additionally, my dear viewers, you can see that there is a very important objective of Hajj, and that it serves as a reminder of the Day of Judgment. And of course, for everyone who takes part in the rituals of the Hajj, of course, upon assuming the state of Ihram, that's the state of ritual purity, and undertaking what looks like two pieces of shrouds, definitely, and of course, perceiving all the multitudes of the pilgrims and standing on the plains of Safa and the Marwa and on the Mount of Arafat, this definitely opens the eyes of the pilgrims to what it's going to look like on the Day of Judgment, when all people will stand equal in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the final judgment. And this definitely motivates and prompts every and each pilgrim to strive harder in preparation for this day to come, and definitely strive harder to become better human beings in all the aspects of life. And like I said, to be better prepared for the Day of Judgment and for standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the Day of Judgment. Of course, my dear viewers, Hajj is a demonstration of true worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone and only, and also it serves as an act of gratitude and thankfulness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is of course realized through the pilgrims forsaking all worldly matters and just dressing in very seamless and simple and very simple two pieces of garment, like I said, that resemble the pieces of shroud. And this of course invokes a state of humility and a state of modesty to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to really realize how short this life is, and what really matters is seeking closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and of course striving harder to become better human beings. So you can clearly see that there are very numerous objectives and purposes of the Hajj, and it's all about getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is for this, the one who is intending to perform Hajj, they need to be better informed about the Hajj and its rituals and its spirituality, of course, to know the point behind each and every ritual. Of course, there is more to be said on this, but